Hello, friends, and welcome back to Mobility Matters. I'm your host, Javier Betancourt, Executive Director of the Citizens Independent Transportation Trust, or CITT. We're the quasi-independent agency of Miami-Dade County charged with overseeing your half-penny sales tax for transportation. So we are broadcasting live out of these mobile studios here at CoMotion Miami. It is an annual conference that brings together transportation and mobility experts from around the country to talk about how technology and innovation are influencing those things, how people move around. So we have some great panelists here at CoMotion from around the nation, and none more impressive, than my guest, Andrew Fremier. Andrew is the Executive Director of the Metropolitan Transportation Commission. And Andrew, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Javier. I appreciate being here.
So is this your first time in Miami?
Not my first time in Miami, but it's mostly been a pass-through onto other places.
Well, excellent. Well, I hope you added a little time before or after to explore the city.
No.
Okay. Next time.
I need to get back. Unfortunately, I've got some major work in front of us, so I'm here.
No worries. Well, enjoy the little time you have here.
Thank you.
And Andrew, as I said, you're going to be one of the panelists here in CoMotion. What are some of the types of things you'll be talking about?
Yeah, our panel is really kind of looking at various metropolitan areas around the United States. I think there's 3 of us on the panel that represent different metropolitan areas. And the idea is to really sort of take a look at what we're doing today, to deal with some of the challenges that we have in front of us, what we're thinking is in front of us in the next 5 or 10 years, and what might be the future of some of our transit opportunities, kind of the marriage of technology and infrastructure today.
Love it. So we'll talk about some of those things now. But before we do so, tell the viewers about the MTC.
Sure. The MTC, by primary responsibility, is the Metropolitan Planning Organization for the San Francisco Bay Area. Our footprint is the 9 Bay Area counties. A fun fact is each of the counties touch the Bay at some point. And they represent a really diverse footprint. So up in the north, where the wine country is, we have quite a bit of rural infrastructure. And then you get down into the urban core with 3 major cities, San Francisco, Oakland, and San Jose. San Jose is actually the largest city in the region. And of course, San Francisco is probably the most notable in terms of what you see on TV with all of our beautiful glam shots of the Bay.
And may have the larger daytime population, I imagine, between the visitors and office workers.
It's actually one of the big challenges of San Francisco. Is San Francisco has really struggled in the recovery from COVID,
right,
in terms of the downtown commuter.
Still
really upended. Oh yeah, it's really upended our entire sort of ecosystem around economy, transit, tax growth, et cetera. It's been a real big challenge, and it continues to be.
Yeah, I know here in Miami, I think we're number 1 in the nation in terms of the percentage of workers who have come back to the office. I mean, we're nearly back to 100% and have been for some time. So it sounds like San Francisco is probably a lot lower on that list.
Yeah, I think the San Francisco Bay Area really adapted to this change in work environments.
Right.
And the irony is, for years, in order to adjust to our challenges with congestion, we really did influence behavioral changes to get more work from home. I think we've been too successful. And it actually it's created a whole new set of challenges on the local arterials.
Sure.
One of the challenges we have in the Bay Area in particular is a lot of the highways and roadways were built in a much smaller time, and the growth has presented huge congestion challenges, both locally and on the interstate and highway systems.
What I love about your organization, first of all, I'm an urban planner, and I started my career at the Regional Planning Council here in South Florida. So I've always thought regionally. Unfortunately, in Florida, our regional planning councils have lost a lot of their authority through years of weakening the Growth Management Act. But it sounds like regionalism is still very much alive and well in California and certainly the Bay Area. And your regional council does more than just transportation, right? It really kind of tackles a host of issues. And it's great because then all those issues interact with one another and you're able to tackle them kind of comprehensively, right?
Yeah, it's funny. We are a significant regional area, and we work hard at regionalism. But I would say, like democracy, it's hard to keep alive. It's an experiment, and it bumps into a lot of different governance structures. There's a lot of local control issues that pop up that don't necessarily fit into a regional environment. Our region is about approaching 8 million people. It's, like as I mentioned, 9 counties. We have 101 cities. We have 27 transit operators. We have 5 express lane operators. We have multiple regional and state agencies that work in the region, and it does create a dynamic that agendas don't line up all the time. And so it does take an awful lot of work and trust building to really be successful. One of my past chairs used a term that we only get along at the speed of trust. And I think we continually work at really trying to create an environment that is seamless for the customer and doesn't really recognize all the various agendas that different public agencies have. Our North Star is what we call Plan Bay Area 2050 plus right now. We're starting to work on the next generation, which will be called Plan Bay Area 2060. And it really is the regional plan that marries housing and transit. So it's called in California the Regional Transportation and Sustainable Community Strategy. And every 4 years we put it out. It has to show that it's a fiscally constrained environment that really tries to balance the housing and transit needs of the region so that we have a strong economy, that people can survive. There's a lot of affluence in the Bay Area, but there is also a lot of affordability challenges. And we really try to focus and address how you bring everybody up at the same time. And that is a real challenge.
So I've often thought, I visited San Francisco not too long ago, as I was telling you before the program, and it's striking to me how similar the cities are in many ways, and then how completely opposite they are in others. It's like a perfect yin-yang, San Francisco and Miami, both geographically opposite ends of the country is, a difference. But on the other side, we're both set in this beautiful Bay environment. We're both kind of immigrant-rich, diverse cities that welcome that diversity, unlike the growing trend in the country in other parts. But one of the things we share, unfortunately, is affordability and in that crisis and how we continue to house our workers and our citizens, in a place that has taken off. On the one hand, we're being very successful in bringing down corporations, and in your case, you've had Silicon Valley and all that success, but that puts a lot of pressure on the price of housing. And transportation, obviously, is the other side of that coin, right? The more successful you are, the more traffic congestion you get. And of course, housing and transportation are two sides of the same coin. So I love that you're working, on how to fix those problems at a regional scale and comprehensively. So what are some of the examples of how you're doing that strategically or tactically? Are there some initiatives you have underway to really tie those two problems together and solve them kind of collectively?
Yeah, look, that's a great question, Javier. First of all, as I mentioned, our North Star Plan Bay Area really tries to marry the whole issue of housing, transportation, and climate resiliency. Because as in Miami, the Bay Area really is challenged by the threat of climate change and the effects of sea level rise. We also have an incredible housing workforce imbalance throughout the region. So most of the affordable housing is in the outskirts of the region, or even in what we call the mega region, which goes into the Central Valley, San Joaquin County, or into the Sacramento area, where there are large counties with much more affordable housing. That creates the imbalance of extended commutes. And as we all know, the investment in heavy rail or even bus systems in terms of operations is extremely expensive and needs the ridership to survive. Without ridership, transit doesn't do well. But incentivizing folks and providing the transit that works for them is the biggest challenge that we have. So one of the major elements of our plan is transit-oriented community development, so that we build dense housing around good transit, such that people can afford to live in a community that has accessibility to transit. And we have seen quite a bit of success in that space around the region, but you have to also recognize that it's decades in the making.
Yeah.
And as we all know, our policymakers come and go based on election cycles. And the challenge that faces us is trying to keep those policies intact that allow us to continue this incremental improvement on the ability to build enough housing. The other sort of unique aspect of the Metropolitan Transportation Commission is a series of other agencies that are run by the same policymakers. So we operate the Bay Area Toll Authority, which is a joint venture partnership with the state of California that manages the 7 state-owned toll bridges that are required to get around the Bay effectively. They collect tolls, and half of that revenue goes to investments in transit, hopefully to incentivize folks to get out of their vehicles. So it's a little bit of a yin and yang in that space, where you're encouraging people to get out of their cars into transit, but we're using that revenue that the automobile drivers bring to the system to build transit improvements and to reduce congestion. We also are the Bay Area Housing Finance Authority, which is a very new program that is lacking funding today, but is really building a strong foundation with the intent of building production, new housing in the affordable housing arena, protections so that people don't get moved out of homes. One of the quickest ways to grow your homeless population is to lose your ability to afford housing, and then, of course, protection to make sure that if we have affordable housing, we maintain deed restrictions that keep it affordable for the future. And so with those tools, the intent, again, back to the regionalism question, is to try to find solutions that really cover all aspects of how you live effectively in the Bay Area, which is extremely expensive.
Yes, we know. So expensive that people are moving from San Francisco to Miami, and we think we're expensive here.
Yeah.
But I guess relative to San Francisco, it might be a little cheaper.
There's incredible growth in Miami, I got to say,
Absolutely.
walking around downtown. It's amazing.
Yeah. So listen, Andrew, believe it or not, we're actually out of time. This goes by quickly, but if people want to learn more about you or your agency, where should they go?
Yeah, the best thing to do is to look at us on the web at mtc.ca.gov, and you'll find everything that we do. You'll find all of our affiliates and all of the different tools that we have that help us really make Plan Bay Area alive, make it work to what it's committed to try to do.
Fantastic. Well, listen, thank you for being here on the program. I'm looking forward to your panel discussion. And thank you for all that you do. Again, as an urban planner with a regional background, I'm really happy to see that regionalism is alive and well and doing great things in the Bay Area. I wish we can borrow some of that magic over here.
Thank you for the invitation. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Folks, that's all the time we have here on this segment of Mobility Matters. I want to thank my guest again. I want to thank CoMotion Miami for allowing us to host the podcast here on the move, as we say. And please stay tuned for additional wonderful guests from this conference. In the meantime, keep moving, Miami.